With another month passing, it's time we are brought together for yet another edition of games I played during April. Starting off for the month, I returned to one of the games that I played all through 2021, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019. Now, I know this is a little bit weird to enjoy a Call of Duty game in 2024, but returning to the last good Call of Duty game was actually really fun and made me slightly nostalgic for some reason. When I used to play this game a few years ago, I made a lot of memories playing both Warzone and multiplayer with my friend, and being a prior COD fanboy, along with the last few years not being very great for COD content, I decided to get back into the game for a little bit. With the arguably repetitive gameplay of the multiplayer, I mostly found most of my fun grinding camos for my guns and chatting to people in the game chat, and for an almost 5-year-old game, it felt really fresh to hop back on, especially with the stale era of modern shooters nowadays. Now, I don't usually get sentimental over these sort of things, but to play a game that's out of its life cycle and with a small number of lobbies active at a certain time, it was disappointing that a game so popular and unique for its time is now almost empty, simply due to the natural turns of the COD cycle. Playing the game now, I get sort of the same feeling I got playing Black Ops 3 in 2020, with both being almost infested with hackers and finding only the same few players in every lobby. It's quite sad, but I'm glad I got to revisit it and re-explore some of the feelings I had when I played it a few years ago. Another game that I've been getting really into lately has been Warhammer Vermintide 2. The gameplay is very similar to Left 4 Dead, almost a complete copy and paste, but with more of a focus on melee combat and ranged weapons being only a secondary option. I was almost turned away by the progression being a loot box system with items that increase your class power levels. But unlike your progression being RNG related as you would think with this system, the loot you get from the boxes seem to be relative to your play level, resulting in feeling like you're gaining better loot because you're actually playing the game. It's hard to explain it, but the loot box system feels very fair with the items and weapon it gives you than you otherwise would expect. But that's not all this game offers. All of the set pieces and different levels are all based in such fantastic and beautiful areas, like this gorgeous elfish forest and beautiful wheat fields. Now, with this being a fantasy game, the game doesn't hold back with its creativity, and this is especially noticeable with the different characters and weapons you can possess. Each of the 5 characters have 4 sorta subclasses each, with different abilities for every one. This really makes your playstyle switch up a lot when you're playing a different character. And with the weapons, there are so many to choose from. Like with the dwarf, you can choose from either a pickaxe, a shield and an axe, or a massive fucking hammer for your primary. And for your secondary, you have the choice between a rifle, a crossbow, a shotgun. There's just so much control you can have over your builds, and all the weapons are so fun and satisfying to use. This game really has all the nerd shit I love geeking out about. Left 4 Dead gameplay with fantasy shit and gorgeous maps. Mwah. Fantastic. Now, I just want to mention 2 other games that I have talked about before, but I've been playing a lot more recently, and those are Project Zomboid and Hollow Knight. I did mention Project Zomboid in my February video, but I revisited it fairly recently, and there's so much more I've learned that it almost feels like a new game. The one thing that blew my mind from the start is how much there is to do, but the game feels so engaging and uncomplicated at the same time. I genuinely feel like the guy and I don't want to die. The developers are still adding so many little mechanics and features into the game for the near future that I'm sure the game will look completely different in a year from now. Like I was saying though, after spending a few more hours into the game and learning more and more from watching tips and tricks videos, I'm having so much more fun understanding all the workings that's going on. Project Zomboid is easily one of the best survival games I've ever played. The other game, Hollow Knight, I mentioned in my previous video, but for having such small knowledge on the game at that point and barely exploring anything the game has to offer, I feel like I almost gave it a disservice for that. But now, after spending a lot more time exploring and discovering many new areas and fighting a ton of new enemies, now I understand what Hollow Knight is about, and it's great. I used to think that I wouldn't be a big fan of Metroidvanias as I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I never really liked the concept of finding an unreachable area and just walking past and hoping I remember to return. But that's now become my favorite part of Hollow Knight. Like I mentioned in my previous video, that moment of surprise and realization once you uncover a new discovery or unlock an essential part of the game is just so satisfying. But even more so when you use that to return to an area and explore all that has to offer. It feels as though you're closer to fully completing something, like when you're doing a jigsaw puzzle and find that one corner piece you've been looking for ages. This sort of gameplay feels much more satisfying than I ever would have imagined, and I'll be grinding the hell out of this game from now on. And finally, one that I've been itching for the chance to talk about for a while, Ultra Kill. Now, before I gave Ultra Kill an actual try, I actually tested it out a lot of times. I played the demo, yeah, it's alright, maybe not quite worth my clams. I bought it a bit ago, it's fun, don't get all the hype though. Then a couple of weeks ago, I bought it again, gave it an actual go, and oh yeah. Easily the greatest thing about the game, and what gets everyone all excited, is the guns, obviously. The weapons in Ultra Kill all seem very simple on the surface, but don't be mistaken. Each weapon and the variations has so many different mechanics and tech that I'm not even going to try to go into them in this video. But some of my favorites are projectile boosting, where you parry your own shotgun pellets. Even the rocket launcher, where you can freeze your rockets, ride them, and then move around like the guided missile from Fortnite. Oh, and don't even get me started on the marksman. Not only just the weapons, but the movement tech is so complex, but so simple at the same time. This game is literally the definition of easy to learn but hard to master. And just by how satisfying the game is, you want to get better at it. But what really brought me into the game is how in-depth the lore actually is. The levels are all based on Dante's Inferno and depicts the 9 circles of torment. And the storytelling from the set pieces and dialogues from the bosses provide the most intriguing and curious lore delivery of any game I've played. It's just plain genius. Now, once I quit procrastinating, I'll start working on a full video of Ultra Kill on my main channel, but I'm so glad I finally gave Ultra Kill a try, and I adored every second of playing it. Good game.